Okay, the purpose of this video is to basically clarify how this GeoGebra thing works. I don't believe I did a very good job of it today. I went into it thinking it was easy because it's easy for me, and I think I confused the hell out of you. So I went home, I had a bit of a think about it, and I think I came up with a better way of doing it. So this will explain that better way of doing it. This will help you do 4, 5, 6 on your maths and small business DI. So remember that it says to use technology, appropriate technology, to look at how your calculations change when you alter your scenario. Um, so you can use either use Excel or this, and each has sort of its own advantages and disadvantages. Excel is easier to set up, but Excel won't give you exact answers in the way this will. So this is actually a lot better once you've got it going. It's the setup part that takes a while. So this is going to be a bit of a long video. This may be my longest one yet. We're talking 20 minutes plus. So think about whether you actually want to try doing this or not. I think it's better, but it will take you some time. Alright, so basically what I want to do is I want to draw a break-even graph like you've had in the textbook onto this GeoGebra program. So just a reminder firstly, it's GeoGebra spelt like that. Google that, choose geogebra.org, which should be your first result, download it from there. Pretty easy. Okay, so I want to have those two lines on there. I want to have a revenue line and a total cost line. See where they meet, that's the break-even number. I want to be able to change those lines pretty easily and see how that changes the break-even number and see how it changes the profits. That's my goal. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have to set up 3 variables here, because we know that when you work out the revenue, you need to know the sale price of each basket you sell. So that's one variable. And for the cost, you need to know the fixed costs of your business. That's the second variable, and the variable costs per basket, which is your third one. So I need to now, before I do anything else, enter in those 3 variables. Now, I don't know what they're going to be yet, so I just have to basically make them up and give them a starting value. That's called initializing in programming. And that can be any old number. You just have to do it to start off with. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to the screen here. Down the bottom, you've got a little window that says, a little text box that says input. Into that, I'm going to write this. I'll start off with fixed costs. Fixed costs, no space. GeoGebra doesn't like spaces between words. It freaks out. Fixed costs equals 1. Hit enter. Now nothing changes on the screen, but you'll see on the left-hand side here where it tells you all of the different shit that's going on. It's got fixed costs there now, so that's worked. Next one, variable cost per unit. Now rather than writing variable cost per unit or per basket, I'm just going to write variable cost. Make that equal to 1 as well. So remember, it doesn't matter what you start off with, you just need to give it something to start off with. And then the last one, sale price. In other words, how much you're selling a basket for, because you need to know that to calculate revenue. And make sale price equal to 1 as well. Alright, good. Now that's not good to us unless we can somehow change that later on. So what I'm going to do here, if I go to the top here, the second to last on the right menu, if you click on the little drop down arrow there, down the bottom there's a thing called Insert Input Box. I click on that. I click to the right of the screen here. I'm basically going to put in a little text box where I can enter in the value that I want the fixed cost to be equal to. So once I know what my fixed costs are, I'll type that number into the fixed cost box and it'll change the variable fixed cost to that number. Alright, so first thing, caption. That's pretty obvious. That would just be fixed cost. You can put a space between them here because this is a caption. This is just text that goes next to the box. It's not the actual math working out part. So fixed costs. The important part is this thing here, linked object. So in other words, that's saying what thing will be changed when you change the number in the fixed cost box. Well, that's pretty obvious. We want the fixed costs variable to change. So we click this little drag down menu and choose fixed costs, press apply. Alright, so now we've got a box that we can enter a number into when we want to change the fixed costs. And whenever we put the number in there, that's what the fixed costs will change to. Alright, so that's pretty easy. Let's do the same thing for variable costs and for sale price. So variable cost is the caption, and obviously the thing it's going to link to is variable cost. So second one, line her up so it looks all pretty. And then the last one is sale price. All right. Next step, once I've done that, is to make up some graphs here. Make up a graph for revenue and make up a graph for total costs. Now in Geogebra, in your input window, when you're entering in a graph, the first thing you put is y equals, lowercase y equals. That's just to let the Geogebra know that there's an equation coming, a little bit like an equal sign in Excel. Now, for revenue, remember it's the equation of a revenue line is like the sale price per basket times by x, where x is the number of baskets you've sold. So here, I would write in sale price exactly as it was written when I set it up as a variable. No space. Then times by x. Remembering that in Geogebra, just like Excel, times is an asterisk. So hit enter. There you go. That's my revenue line there. Now, just to make life a little bit easier for me later on, I want to be able to make that a different color to all the other ones and to label it too. So I do that like this. Hover the mouse over it, right click, choose object properties. The name, I will change from the generic name of A to revenue. And the color, if I click on the color tab, I'll make that like a red or something. Beautiful. Then the last step, it doesn't label it straight away. You then have to right click again, and under here where it says show label, choose that. And there you go, it's chucked the word revenue on there. Alright, so now I want to do the same thing for costs. Now this time I write y equals, and then remember the costs are fixed costs plus the variable costs per item times by x. That's how we work out costs. So I put fixed costs, just like it's spelt on the left hand side of the window under variables, so just like it's spelt here, fixed costs plus variable cost times by x. Hit enter. So at the moment they look a little bit weird. That's because we're just setting it up. Now I want to change that to, I'll change the name so it's total costs. Now again, when you're labeling these, Geogebra doesn't like spaces in your labels, so I'm just going to put total costs like that with no space between the total and the costs, and I'll make it like a lime green color. There we go, cool. And now I can start actually, and right click and go show label. So now I can actually start entering values in for this. So I'm just going to make up some numbers here. I might make it a little bit like Colin did. 4,000 for my fixed costs. I don't know, $35 for my variable costs, and $70 for my sale price. And when I do that, my graph goes haywire. I can't see anything happening here. Reason for that being is if you look at the graph here, it's going from 0 to 100 there, and from 0 to 100 here. That's kind of typical of what you might see when you first start Geogebra for the first time. And that's not really what we want. What we would like is something like we were looking at today. We'd probably want to go up to hundreds or thousands of baskets sold, and their revenue probably needs to go up in the tens of thousands. So we need to change the graph, the axis of the graph. To do that, you hover your mouse over either the horizontal or the vertical axis, right click, go graphics. And what you want is in this first page here. So Xmin and Xmax. Xmin can stay as it is, but Xmax probably needs to go up to 2,000. That's a good start. You can always make it bigger if you can't fit everything in. Ymin and Ymax. Ymin can stay as it is. Ymax probably needs to be something big, like 30,000. And then we go save settings. And that's about what we want. I might just grab this move graphics tool here and just use that to move it a little bit. There we go, beautiful. Right, so that's my graph. Now I want to know where the break-even point is. What's the how many baskets do I sell when I break even, which is that point there where the two graphs cross. So first thing I got to do is actually find that point where the graphs cross, and that's easy. In your tools up here, in one of the menus, I believe it's this one, yep, there's a thing called intersect two objects. So in other words, find where two objects cross. Choose that. I click on my first object, which is the red line, then click on my second object, which is the green, and you can see here it chucks a little point A where they meet. Awesome. Now, what I would like to do now is I would actually want to know what X is at this point A. Now, there's an easy way of doing that, which is not great, and that's just going over to here and looking at where it says A, capital A in here, and the X and the Y coordinates. You can see the X coordinate is 114.29. So that's my break-even number. That's kind of a bit fiddly though. What I really would like to do is have a little readout here that told me what the break-even number was. So when I changed numbers here, that break-even number would change out with them. And that I can do that. The way I do it is like this. I want to drop a vertical line through here that goes through A and then goes down to the X-axis. And the reason I want to do that is because when you have a vertical line in geometry, like straight up, straight down, it has the following equation. The equation of a vertical line is x equals just some number, just a number. And that x equals, that number will be my break-even number, because that will cross through the x-axis at that break-even point. So I want to chuck a vertical line in here that goes through A. And luckily there's an easy way of doing that. You go up to here, you choose this guy, perpendicular line tool. And the way that works is you click on a point that you want your perpendicular line to go through. So in this case A, click on that. And then you click on the thing you want to be perpendicular to. So a vertical line wants to be perpendicular to the horizontal axis here. So now I move my cursor to the horizontal axis and click on that. And you can see it puts a vertical line straight up, straight down through point A. And over here, this new thing here, that's the equation of that vertical line. X equals 114.29. That's my break-even number. So that's telling me for this particular scenario I've just made up, I need to sell 115 baskets to break even. Cool. So now we want that to actually come up as a dynamic text thing underneath these boxes here. And luckily that's easy as well. You go up to here and you choose ABC, that's the insert text tool. Then you click where you want the text to go, say here. Under edit you need to put in like a heading, so I'm just going to put break even number. And then the next thing I want to put in is the actual X value here. So I want the computer to always put the X value of this vertical line, which is the break-even number, after the words break-even number. And the way I do it is this. I'm going to use the objects thing here. Each object is a bit of something, you know, a straight line, horizontal line, whatever that you've added in so far. And I want to add in this object, the vertical line. Now that is named A. You can see it's A dot dot X equals blah 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 blah. That little lowercase a, that's the name of it. So if I go over to here and choose objects, it gives me all of the things I've made so far. I'm going to pick A. That's that vertical line. Press OK. And there you go. It's chucked a little thing there. Break even number. X equals 114.29. Beautiful. And now if I change anything, so change the fixed costs, you can see the break-even number changes when I change the fixed costs. Sweet. Done. So that vertical line is really just for working out. So now I probably just want to not get rid of it, because if I get rid of it, that formula here disappears. But I want to make it invisible, so I put my mouse over it, right-click, and it says here Show Object. That means make it visible. If I uncheck that, that line disappears. It's still there in the memory, but it's just not being shown on the screen anymore. Right, that's the easy part done. The hard part's next. Okay, so that's how you do the break-even number, and that will give you an exact break-even number for any scenario you choose. You just alter the fixed cost, variable cost, and sale price. What we're going to look at next is how you go about doing the profit part. And that's going to be a little bit harder. So if you're quite happy doing profit with Excel tables, you might want to stop now. Otherwise, we'll go and look at how you do it in GeoGebra. So what you got to do first is you have to draw a third line that shows profit. So that third line will show how the profit made changes as you change the number of baskets made. Now you need to know an equation for that first. Now the way I did in class was a bit dicky. The easiest way of doing it is probably like this. So we know that profit is always equal to revenue take away total costs. Now in our particular setup here, revenue was equal to sale price times X, like that. And total costs was equal to fixed costs plus variable cost times X, like that. If you do a bit of algebra on that, like I've done here, you end up with sale price X, take fixed cost, take variable cost X. That's the equation for profit. So I go back to Geogebra. I'm going to draw a third line here to represent profit. So Y equals to tell Geogebra there's a line equation coming. And then sale price times X, take fixed costs, take variable cost, times X, then hit enter. And there you go. So that's my profit line there. And you can see that the profit goes from being negative, like it is here, which means a loss, to being positive, which means a proper profit, at the exact same X value that you broke even. And that makes sense, because remember, when you break even, that's when you go from making a loss to making a profit. So it works. Alright, object properties, let's give it a name. Obvious name would be profit. And the color, I'll make it a nice pretty purple color. There we go, close, right click on again, choose show label, so the word profit here comes up, awesome. Next thing, now I would like to be able to enter, I like to have a little text field here and enter in, number of baskets equals blah, and then have a little readout that tells me what the profit is when I have blah number of baskets. Okay, now I need to invent a variable for that, just like I invented some variables here for these text boxes. So the variable is going to be called number of baskets, or just number baskets. Now, like before, I got to initialize it, so just to start off, we'll just go number of baskets equals 1. Duh. Alright, now next step is not obvious. I want to make a vertical line, and that vertical line is going to be x equals number of baskets. So under here I write x equals number baskets and hit enter. And you can see that this thing here has come a little bit dark, because that's because you don't just have the y-axis there, you now also have a vertical line that represents the number of baskets, which at the moment is 1. So they're kind of overlapping the top of each other, and that makes it a bit darker than it would be normally. Now I want to actually put in a little text box, an input box here, so I can change the number of baskets. So under the caption, I obviously write number of baskets. And the linked object will be number baskets. So I go apply. And now, if I change that to say 550, you can see that vertical line moves to x equals 550. Right, next thing. I want to actually find where that vertical line intersects with my purple profit line. So I choose the intersect tool, click on the vertical line first. Yep. Let's choose that properly, that works. Click on the vertical line first, then click on the purple line. And that point B there is where they intersect. Alright, once I've done that, I don't need that vertical line anymore, that was just there for working out, so I can right click on that and uncheck show object. Alright, this is what I want to do. That point B there, when I've got 550 baskets, the profit I make selling 550 baskets, I can find that by going across, straight across horizontally, and seeing where that hits the y-axis, and whatever number it hits the y-axis, that would be the profit. So I really want to draw a horizontal line here and see where it hits the y-axis. Now how do I draw that horizontal line? Well, I use the perpendicular tool again. So I choose that. Remember, the perpendicular line has to go through a point, and then you tell it what it's perpendicular to. So it's going to go through point B, and it's going to be perpendicular to the y-axis. So I move my cursor over the y-axis and click. And there you go. So we can see when you sell 550 baskets, you're making about 15,000 of profit, which is all well and good, but I'm not quite happy with that yet. I want to know exactly what it is. And basically, the way I can work out exactly what it is, the equation of a horizontal line is y equals some number. Sounds a bit weird, but that's how it works. The horizontal line has an equation y equals some number. So if I go over to here, that little one there that's just been added C, that's y equals some number. That's the equation of that horizontal line, and that's also equal to the profit. So 14,950. So that's telling me when I sell 550 baskets, I make $14,950 in profit. Awesome. So last thing I want to do is actually have a little text readout here that does that rather than having to look in this crap on the side. So I choose the text thing again, click underneath the number of baskets box. Under edit, I'm going to put profit, like so. And then remember I choose objects here, and the object I want to put next to it is C. That's that horizontal line we just worked out. So I click on C, go OK. Maybe move it so it's in a nice spot. There we go. So that tells me that when I sell 550 baskets, I make $14,950 worth of profit. And you can see that when I change the number here and hit enter, the readout changes as well. Change back to 200, readout changes something different again. Last step, that vertical line is just there to, sorry, that horizontal line is just there for working out. So I can go uncheck show object, and I'm done. So now I have like a dynamic graph, we call it. Dynamic means it changes when you change something. A dynamic graph that I can alter the different boxes for, and it will tell me how the break-even number changes, and it will also tell me what the profit is for any given number of baskets sold. Right. So that's it. It's up to you what you choose to do. I've used Excel or this. I personally think this is better, but it also takes a long time to set up. Once you've done it a few times, it becomes quicker, but it's still always going to be a little bit fiddly. So it's up to you.